on earth is that? It's a Journey into Comics Network production!
Tell me something, my friend. You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? What? I always ask that of all my prey. I just like the sound of it.
Brought to you by the power of the Journey into Comics Network. This is the Journey into Comics podcast, the show that's 100% dedicated to everything nerd. With your hosts, the Podfather, Nate Phillips, the Podmaster, Brandon Stone, and the Journey into Comics Network stepdad, Tyler McLaughlin.
Time to make the chimichangas.
30 seconds.
Hey!
Excellent!
Finally. What did you do? Oh, Fred. And here we go.
Can somebody tell me what kind of a world we live in where a man dressed up as a bat gets all of my press? This town needs an enema.
What's up, true believers? Welcome back to another episode of Journey into Comics. Today, it's Journey into Comics 322. Your host, Nate, today joining me, as the introduction said, the Podmaster, Brandon Stone. How's it going, my brother?
It is going. I am here on a glorious, windy, and was a gloomy Sunday, and then the sun decided to come out. It has not shined on my spirit yet, though.
Oh, well, hey, hopefully this man who we brought along with us for the podcast can shine upon your spirit and give you a little bit of extra juice and bubbly for your mood. Welcome back to the show once again, stepdad of the JIC, and last time we're going to keep that moniker going. Welcome back, TY. How's it going, my friend?
I'm tired, but I'm vibing. I'm really just vibing right now.
And also, Nate, I just want you to know, it's a very special occasion today because we returned to live stream because I said why not, because it was so close to the point where we would normally post the episode anyway. So that's what we're gonna do. If we're riding it this close on a Sunday evening where we would normally post it, we're gonna go live. But of course, the entire time that we were on the call together, pre-gaming, catching up just a little bit, getting ready for the show, the absolute moment that I hit the button and tell you to, go ahead with the intro, man. Tell them who we are. Your internet decides to bye.
Just walk down on us, didn't it?
Well, because there's such a delay now from when I talk to you and then you talk back. It is hilarious. It's just
It's really that bad?
It's noticeable. It's noticeable. And then of course your video froze, like not your audio though, but just your video. So guys, bear with us. This is the internet age of doing podcasts. This is how we roll. This is what we do. So we're just gonna keep on trucking and rolling on and doing the best we can.
Speaking of rolling, I'm gonna take the ball and roll with it. I've recently gotten into skateboarding a little bit, guys. I didn't tell you guys this before the show, but I've been
at your age?
Taking Ollie to the skate park and messing around with skate. Yeah, well, let me tell you, there's a reason I brought this up because it's a funny story. We were at the skate park. He's got this new toy truck and, monster truck remote control and on the ramps, skate park. He's like, here, Nate, hold my skateboard. So I just set it down, stand on it, and start rolling. I'm not pushing, I'm just rolling real chill. Not a lot of effort happening. I'm not even putting in 30% like Dick would. I'm putting in 5%. I look up and I notice there are people looking at me. As soon as I realize people are looking at me, the board comes out from under me and I smash on my arm hard as shit. I got this big lump on my elbow here. Fun. But then I was like, man, I'm going to learn how to do an ollie. And I actually have figured out how to do it, and that's been a lot of fun. But yeah, I probably shouldn't be skating at 33, but we're all probably, I don't know. I don't know what the future holds for everything in this world, my friends. It's been a bumpy 2020.
Yesterday, I went to the store, and that took it out of me. I something pinched in my back, and I was limping around the house like an old man for the rest of the day. So yeah, that was me yesterday. Today, I do feel a little accomplished with some of the stuff that I've done. I've got a project that I'm working on back here in the back, or at least I'm attempting to get an old controller working again. Other than that, I sat down, finally watched the last 2 episodes of Mandalorian because I was behind. And so that way we could talk about that today. But Tyler, what's going on new in your world?
I work 7 days a week. Nothing's really changed. I've been going on a fucking Gears of War journey with my buddy Andy. We just happened to be chatting it up one day, and he's like, I've never played any of those, like any of them. And I was like, fuck it, man. It's 2020. Let's just do it. Let's do it live. And we've been doing it live. It's been fun. I forgot how fun those games were.
Those are all on Game Pass too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Game Pass Ultimate's a great deal, especially now they also bundled in EA Play as well.
Yeah, so I over the weekend, or over, I guess, the tail end of the week, I downloaded Battlefield 5, which I didn't buy, Battlefront 2, and Anthem. I got all those for free. So, not for free, obviously, but for a fraction of what I would have paid for them brand new,
Well, actually, Anthem you could have bought for a whole whopping 99 cents at Walmart. I actually saw it at my local Walmart for 99 cents. That's how how bad the stock was that EA had put out for that game. But Tyler, just about a week ago, in 7 Day, the big announcement.
Yeah.
The Mass Effect Legendary Edition coming to consoles. The rumor is it's April 20 something is when that's going to be coming out. And it's going to be coming out for the current consoles, the PS4 and Xbox One, with a update, so to speak, to take for enhancements, I guess, for backwards compatibility on PS5, Xbox Series X. So I'm actually okay with that because I'm very well aware of what those games are and were, and the amount of work that they got to put into them to get them to run, especially Mass Effect 1. I've heard they're doing a lot of work on that to help smooth it out, and also do a kind of like a complete graphical overhaul with textures and everything. So it's going to be interesting.
Which it needs.
No, I mean, all of them need that, like, essentially at this point. If you're going to do a remaster, maybe 2 and 3 could get by with just a smoothing over with some shaders and some ray tracing would be kind of cool. But Mass Effect 1 is such a... It's almost like you're damn near playing a late original Xbox game.
Yeah.
When you play Mass Effect 1. When you play that on the 360, they didn't quite have, like let's make a shooter game that's kind of designed more for a mouse and keyboard, but it's going to be on the console, and then of course, as you said, Gears of War came out, and they saw that and went, oh, so that's how you make a cover shooter game. And then they like, all right, well, let's put that into Mass Effect 2, and that's exactly what. When you try to play Mass Effect 1, it's jarring. Once you played any modern shooter, it is so jarring because you're just like, this is terrible. This game had better count its damn lucky stars that I love this series this much, because I'm going back to play this and drive around in that wretched Mako. It's Mako. Oh my gosh. But I'm super excited for that. Super jazzed. Of course,
I am too.
I mean, the new console's coming out. I mean, you don't have them, and Nate doesn't have them either. At this point, I'm not. I might try a few more times online, but to this point, it's like futile. Why even try? All those people have bots, and they're just going, and they're selling for $2,000 on eBay. I mean, there's going to be first come issues with both consoles. Don't blow vape in your Xbox Series X, guys.
Yep.
Don't do that.
You beat me to it.
Don't do that. Nate, did you see that?
I saw those videos. Why are people such assholes? Oh yeah, of course I did. I knew immediately. Listen, I'm too in on that culture to not know. As soon as those Xboxes started, I'm like, it's too dense, yo. That your fucking Xbox would have to literally be on fire internally for that kind of smoke to be pouring out of it, and obviously that's not the case. So people are clowning, and I really hate it. I think that the whole console craze is, and I said this off air, I think it's worth the wait. Just take your time, wait it out. You'll get a console. You'll be at Walmart at 2:00 in the morning one night and go, oh shit, they've actually got 10 of them in stock, and no one's around to stop me from purchasing one. There's not a line. There's not arguments happening. I'm not going to get stabbed to death over a fucking system.
Correction.
I'm going to just do it now. And
correction. You're going to be at Walmart at 2:00 in the morning. I'm going to be in bed at 2:00 in the morning. I saw something that hit home so hard. Okay, it was this whole story going around on Facebook, this video about this guy going to the chiropractor and ripping ass, and how he can't ever go back there again because he's embarrassed. It's a funny story, but there's a part beforehand that set it up. For some reason, he included this part in it, and that's how a couple buddies of his like, hey, man, you want to go out and have some drinks? He goes, you know what? I haven't done that in a long time. I am going to go. And he said he got ready about 6:00, and they didn't show up until 10. And he said he was kind of pissed because he's like, I remember back in the day, I used to pregame at 10, get to the bar about 11. But now, if you even mention watching a movie before 8, I'm going to look at you like you're crazy because that's bedtime. That's night time. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly where I am in my life. It's getting to the point where I don't even want to cook after 8 anymore. It's getting to the point where I'm looking at her, and of course, bedtime for us, now bedtime with the youngest one has changed because he's like, I don't need a second nap anymore. And we're like, please take a second nap. And he doesn't anymore. He will not. So now my podcasting days of going late time or anytime past 7 back here are over. It is done. So I'm working on a solution for that. And that has just changed with this week. But so he goes to bed now at 7, the oldest one 8:30. And literally there are times where I am finishing up cooking at 9:30 and I am hating life itself. Because I am like, I'm not in bed right now, and I'm pissed because
we started to eat dinner at like 4:30 or like 4:30 in the afternoon. Like,
dude, I call my mom like normally around this time I'd be calling her and she'd be like, hey, just so you know, we're about ready to eat dinner, so can you wait about 20-30 minutes? And I'm like, it's 5:14 now, and I'm like, they're an hour behind us. I'm like. That's what my grandparents used to eat dinner. It was right before 5, around 5. They'd watch the 5:00 news. Maybe dinner would be ready, or maybe it'd probably be ready before that. I remember Grandma getting dinner ready for when they would be in the field out there farming, and she'd be making hot ham and cheese sandwiches while Oprah was on at 4:00.
Shit, yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm almost there with you because. It is to the point where I'm just getting too old for this shit, and I stayed up till midnight, freaking on Friday night, and I shouldn't have. I am a utter and complete fool. Okay, because I got roped in to a circle of hell on YouTube. I'm sure everybody knows what I'm feeling when you just watch something and then here's a suggested, and it was nothing but Price is Right videos. And suddenly, I'm in grade school, middle school, staying home from school sick, watching Price is Right, and some of them are older. I watched a whole episode from 2015, where it was the April Fool's one. It was a whole episode. And the reason why I watched it is because Bob Barker did the whole first game and everything. He came back out of retirement, 90-something years old, hobbling out there. It was, they didn't know he was going to be there, and he did the whole thing. He gave away a car. It was really cool. And then I just sat there and watched the whole damn thing. And I don't know why. I don't know why. And then I looked at my clock, and I'm like, oh, no. Now, before we get into some really cool stuff to talk about, I got to talk about something kid-wise, and we're all dads here. So We're about ready to purchase something to lock my oldest child into his room. He will not be able to leave his room at night. Does that sound?
Oh, the mysterious. No, I know what you're saying, because the mysterious escaping drama you guys had a few weeks ago, where you've had to adjust your cameras back an extra hour to see when he's getting up and getting out.
Okay, so that hasn't stopped.
This is obviously has gotten worse.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
So 2 nights in a row. We had 2 nights in a row of this shit. And this may sound kind of draconian to lock your child into his room, but quite literally, thankfully, he hasn't done anything bad, like set the house on fire or try to leave the house.
Mm-hmm.
And quite literally, he could. But he won't listen, and that's the issue. So before anybody judges too much about locking my kid into his room, please, I don't want to do it, okay? I don't. But he's pushed us to this point because he won't listen. So this story is kind of humorous. We were laughing about this behind the scenes, but we couldn't laugh about it in front of him.
Because then you become an enabler.
Exactly. So he woke up Saturday morning, somewhere about 6:20 or so. He got up, which isn't too terrible. I'm usually up around 7 on days I don't work. This my own internal clock kind of like, hey, your back hurts now. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. I got to get out of bed. Except for that night, of course, I stayed up real late. Well, he woke me up by shutting his door too hard, and it was after 7. And I'm doing. It's funny to watch myself on the camera afterwards because I realize, man, I'm old and I'm tired and I move like an old man sometimes. Turns out he was sneaking food into his room. He snuck 2 packages separately of fruit snacks.
Okay. All right.
And a little snack-sized Crunch Bar from the Halloween candy bowl.
Gotta get the crunch.
All right.
Gotta get that midnight crunch.
Oh, yeah, this is great.
So I caught him on the last time because what he does, or what he did, because I'll just rewind it. He came out, looked around. Of course, all this is being captured on camera. Mm-hmm. He goes into the kitchen, grabs a pack of fruit snacks. As he's going back to his room, shakes them so they are picked up by the camera's microphone.
You gotta air them babies out. They gotta breathe.
He goes into his room. His bed is a platform bed now. Uh-huh. So it's like a bunk bed, but underneath there's no other bed. It's like storage.
A desk and stuff.
Well, it was storage for like toys and stuff. He can get under there. If he stands up, he's gonna bonk his head. It's not that tall. It's not a full bunk bed size. But like, so he gets up on the little nugget pieces. We have these little foam pieces of furniture that we put there in case he decides to just completely roll over the rail and fall out. Then at least he has something to land on. He stands on that, puts the snacks underneath his blanket, then goes around to the ladder, climbs up the ladder, gets into bed, gets underneath the blanket, and eats the fruit snacks.
Like with the blanket over his head.
He got underneath. He's like,
Oh, that's good.
And then he gets out.
Please tell me you showed him the video.
No. But my wife Kate, she's actually gonna edit these together and post them on TikTok and and add like circus music to it because he's running. All right, so he climbs back down. He's got the wrapper in his hand now, and he runs back to the kitchen, puts it in the trash, and runs back to his room. And he starts getting toys out to start playing, and then he stands up, runs back out of his room, back to the kitchen, gets another pack of fruit snacks. Runs up. He doesn't preemptively put him under the covers. He just climbs up the ladder with him. He's getting a little bit more brave. And this time, you think he's going to hide underneath the covers, but he just sits there and eats them. Okay? And then he's like, okay, he's done. So then he climbs back down the ladder, runs all the way back to the kitchen. Now, he's not being quiet. This is what woke me up. Throws it away, comes back to his bedroom, shuts the door again, starts actually getting the Legos out to play and you know, and do his thing. He then gets back up, runs all the way back to the kitchen, grabs a Crunch bar,
Gotta get that midnight crunch. I'm telling you.
runs all the way back to his room, gets underneath the bed now, and eats it under there.
All right.
Okay. And then he climbs out or crawls out, opens up his door, and runs back to the kitchen, only I'm standing in the living room. And he runs right by me. And he gets by me almost to the kitchen, stops, he goes, I don't have anything.
I know.
And so I just looking at him with my 7 o'clock in the morning face, and I just hold my hand out, and he puts the Crunch wrapper in my hand, and I go, excuse me, sir? And he goes back into his room, shuts the door, and what's funny is that on the video, you can see he's got his hand on his butt, like, uh-oh, I done messed up. So
About to get that whip.
So I go and I place the wrapper on my wife's desk. This is evidence. Now I go into the bathroom where I sit down to do my morning business, and I load up those other videos. So this is kind of almost like a Quentin Tarantino thing, because from my point of view, that was the first. Now I go back and get the full story.
Yep.
And I'm trying not to laugh so hard as I'm watching everything unfold. And I get done. And now I know the full thing. I go to his room. I open up the door. He's playing with his Lego. He stands up and goes, I'm sorry. I'm like, get in bed. I'm so sorry. Get in bed. He climbs into bed. I'm like, you're going to stay here until your mom's up. And then I close the door, shut the light off behind him. And then I go tell her, and we're cackling in the bedroom. Actually, we're muffling our own laughs as we're watching the videos together now.
Is the blanket over your guys' head?
If they were, we have separate blankets because that's how we roll on a king size bed. She's got her side,
Yeah.
I got my side. It's peace. So we have a very long discussion with him. And do you know what his excuse was? His first thing was, dude, he poked his head out of his bedroom. We hadn't even gone to him yet because she does her own morning routine.
Mm-hmm.
And he poked his head out, and I'm sitting in my chair, and I look over. He goes, I was hungry. I'm sorry.
Snacks.
Snack. And so we had a very long talk about don't be sneaking stuff into your room. You don't leave your bed until that light is green. We have a little Google light that is supposed to connect to like a speaker, but we took the speaker out because he wouldn't stop touching it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it's one thing if he's got to get up and go pee. I get that. I actually encourage that. But don't get up. If you're going to do that, you got to go right back to bed until that light's green or until we come tell you that it's okay. Don't. Because my fear is, of course, the absolute worst. He's going to go to the kitchen and go, what does this dial do? Woof. You know, and start a fire. Or grab a knife or something. Something bad. Or like, hey, the front door, cool. I'm going to open this up. And then, of course.
See what varmints I can let in.
Yeah. Well, then today, he's up at 5:09, guys. The first video that gets captured in his room is him trying to put his fan back up onto his dresser because it's a box fan. And then I'm watching him everything. And this time he goes to the bathroom. He gets the little claw. We have a little claw grabber, like a little gopher, to hold the poopy diapers for her to spray them off into the toilet for when we use cloth. He takes that into his room and he's playing with it. It's in his bed. He's trying to grab stuff with it. He pulled out the plunger. He keeps going back and forth from the bathroom to his room. Again, it wakes me up in the morning. And I watch it all before I even leave the room this time. So when I go to the bathroom, I don't even confront him. I just go to the bathroom and I shut the door and I sit down and I'm like watching a YouTube video or something. And this is the funniest video from today. He comes out. He sees that the bathroom door is now shut. He's like, shit. So he goes over to it and he turns the doorknob. Just turns it ever so slightly. And I stop my video and I'm doing the whole like my hands are on my knees and I'm waiting for him to open up the door, kind of tapping my hand. But then he stops and I hear the footsteps patter away. And I hear them patter back to his room and he shuts the door. I go back and watch the video. He comes out, sees the door shut, goes over to it, stops, runs all the way to the window to see if my car is home. And he instantly runs back to his room, shuts the door behind him, climbs up back into bed and under the covers like he's been there the whole time, leaving his light on.
You've got a Wyatt is doing some Ocean's 11 shit here.
Dude, he's trying to, but he's not that smart. And that's why we are going to replace the doorknob and we're going to lock him into his room until we deem it necessary for him to leave. I know that seems awful. Like, well, then you just said about you're okay with him using the bathroom. He still wears a pull-up, guys. He doesn't feel comfortable not wearing one. So until we can get him to stop doing what he is doing and have him listen to us, he can pee in his pull-up for all I care. And the best part is, guys, him running back and forth from the kitchen, back to his room, back to the kitchen to throw it away. And that main trash, he has a trash can in his room that we don't check very often. He could have hit him in there. And we would have been like, oh, yeah, sometimes you let him have fruit snacks in his room when he asks. No, it would have been never the wiser.
None the wiser.
Yeah. So, guys.
See, and you're over there with a kid who, of course, we've got the time delay thing. So I'm trying to not talk. He's got a kid over there who's trying to be sneaky and do the thing. And we got a kid over here who I'm unintentionally teaching to be sneaky. I got Ollie playing Among Us. Tyler's big into that game too. And if you guys saw in the group chat yesterday, there was some pretty things that happened at our house because Ollie sheepishly asks me, can we download Among on your computer and I'll play it on your phone? And I was like, I'll buy it on Steam, whatever, it's cool. So I get it. And we're like in the same room. First 3 or 4 games, he's like, I'm a crewmate. He just keeps telling me things. And then as soon as he gets killed, he's like, oh, purple killed me. And I'm like, dude, you can't tell me who's killing you because then I'll know. And then I can just immediately, it doesn't make the game fun. It's cheating. It's not fair. I don't want to be like that. We got to play right. And so we get into this game and I don't hear him say anything. He's just sitting there. Finally listening and not spoiling shit. Cool. And I'm walking around in Skeld and I don't see anybody. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And then I'm 3 tasks in. And the next thing I know, it literally just says defeat. And it's Ollie's little Among Us guy is the character who was the imposter. And he starts cackling like a hyena, just laughing hysterically because he silently killed everybody on the ship but me and left me alive. How sinister. He's like, if I kill Nate, he'll know how to tell him. I'm just going to kill everybody but Nate and then it'll be great. So he literally baffled me. I was stunned because I thought it would be him. He just seemed like he was figuring the game out, man. So he's getting really good at it and it's been a lot of fun. But I don't think I have anything else in that world. Do we want to jump forward? Tyler, do you have a kid story you want to share?
Not today.
I'm doing shots. Just so everybody out there. I'm doing shots. Okay.
Mine, yeah. Jesus.
Is this how we kill the corona? Is that what he said? Or no, wait, that was bleach. Do shots of bleach.
Inject bleach into your veins.
Yeah.
Oh, guys. Well, I tell you, I don't know where you go from here if you want to get an entertainment-based comic booky news, comic booky type news, or the like, or talk about the Mandalorian episodes that we've all watched. You guys feel like kicking this thing off?
Well, I think, I was going to pitch this. The last 2 episodes of The Mandalorian were so good. And, I described episode 3 to me as a literal wet dream. So I almost feel like I would be doing everyone a disservice by trying to break that thing down scene for scene, because I was like a little kid on the edge of my seat, like, oh yeah, Daddy likes this the whole time.
It was pretty good. A lot of fan service, and that's kind of what they've been doing almost like for the entire series at this point, is just fan service. I've enjoyed this season so far. What I will say that I don't enjoy about it, and this is just my personal flavor, I don't like waiting for the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
When I had this issue with this with the first season as well. The first season's really good. However, when you watch an episode and you wait, sometimes to me, I don't know. I feel like while it's enjoyable to watch, for me personally, I'm not hyped to watch it. And I'm not sure why that is. I would rather be able to sit down and watch a couple episodes and get my fill, rather than, oh, are you going to, like, literally people were bugging me at work. Why haven't you watched it? I'm like, because I don't care to, and now I don't want to watch it because you keep bugging me about it. I'm having like an adverse reaction when people bug me to watch it, because when I did watch it, I did enjoy it. But I don't know. I don't feel like I want to see the full story play out, and I don't want to wait a whole week for another 30 minutes of my time. In the first episode, I'm sorry, Tyler. The first episode was
right.
really long, and I actually liked that. But they've been kind of getting a little shorter. When the series premiered for season 2, we sat down and rewatched season 1, and I enjoyed it a lot more rewatching it than I enjoyed it watching it, and that's because I could sit there and digest it all as a one big long story movie-esque. And whereas the episodes that were like, this is an episode or adventure of the week type deal, I didn't enjoy those as much. And I've said that to other people last year, like, yeah, the 3 in between episodes, I didn't like them nearly as much as I liked the other ones that were a little bit more plot heavy. This time around, episode 1 was entirely a side quest. Episode 2 was a side quest leading to the main one, and we are actually getting we're inching closer, if you will, to the meat of the story. Now, I'm being critical of it just because it's my own flavor of how I like to digest media. I'm now spoiled. I have been spoiled by the here's the entire thing, go and watch it all kind of deal. And then I feel like I can watch it at my own pace. Whereas if it's like, here's an episode on Friday, watch it and wait a week. Sometimes when I wait, I get less hyped, and then I'm not hyped to watch it until as I said, I waited until I had 2, and we sat down and we watched 2, and it was awesome because it just bled right into the next part of the story. And now I have to wait for the next one, which the nugget of which they did give us is enough for me to want to be hyped to watch the next one. But sometimes the nugget isn't enough to bleed in. Like sometimes when you watch any of the new documentary styles that they do, whether it's on Netflix or HBO or anything like that, where it's broken up into episodes, and I've noticed a trend. They did it with McMillions, and they did it with The Pharmacist. They did it with Tiger King. When you got to the end of the episode, there's always a big kind of a wrinkle in the story that kind of like kept you like, oh, I got to watch the next one right now. And I feel like, I don't know. Is it just me?
No, that's where I was gonna jump in and say, through the first season, Nate and I broke down every episode except maybe one, I think, like under a microscope. We put every episode except maybe one underneath a microscope. And I think collectively, Nate and I agreed that though the runtimes were okay, we, especially, it's now 2020, we're spoiled by Game of Thrones and The Sopranos and Spartacus and all these fantastic, 5, 6, 7 long or season long series that every episode is minimum 50 minutes.
Yeah.
So when and I talked about it when Nate and I went over episode 1 or the season premiere for season 2. I loved the episode length. I thought it was perfect. That 52, 54 minute.
Yeah, right in that
window.
52-minute mark.
Yeah, it's perfect. I don't feel like I'm sitting down to watch a short movie, but I also don't feel like I'm sitting down to watch a really, really long, drawn out TV episode.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels good. And then, you get into episode 2, and for me, it's like episode 2 is a fucking whirlwind of emotions for me, because it's now like, as a kid, episode 1, seeing the crate dragon, there was a lot of expanded universe novelizations when I was a kid that involved crate dragons.
Yep.
And that was cool. And then you get into episode 2 with the knobby white spider, and Shazam, I'm back to being a kid again. This thing is terrifying. Now I'm seeing it in real life.
Yeah.
And then, I get that.
Oh God, and they played off so well on screen.
Yeah, and it was like watching Star Wars meets Aliens, and we have always wanted that. At least the Aliens fans have. We've always wanted that, those two universes to merge and cross over. But Skylar and I were watching it, and the credits rolled, and we both looked at each other like, "Are you serious? 34 minutes, and 10 minutes of that is the goddamn credits."
Yeah. I do like the credit sequence though.
I do too. I'm not complaining about that.
With all the concept art that they end up pulling out and doing, and then of course like that's the only time where you actually get to hear the theme of the show, for real, unless they play it during the actual show. I just kind of feel like, while I understand what they're going for, visually the show looks on par with anything that we've seen in any of the films. Musically, it's there. I get what we're going for this kind of story of like, this is gonna like a 5-season story that they've kind of said that it's gonna be for the Mandalorian, and they're gonna be like 8 episodes, and then like each season's gonna be like, because they're all chapters of a story that we're gonna be getting. And that doesn't necessarily always mean that each chapter or each season is like a book. It's going to be like from season 1 to season 5, we're going to get one long, this is the story of this guy with this kid, and it is inspired by a lot of older spaghetti westerns, and while putting that into the Star Wars universe, just like, in the same vein of when George first created Star Wars, where he took a lot of Greek and Roman mythology and merged that with sci-fi to tell these stories of these legends, of these characters, and created a story that was inspired by that, with a little bit of Flash Gordon, with a little bit of samurai, with a little bit, all of it baked in. And so we're getting that with this world, and while I'm thoroughly enjoying it, there's also, I don't know, it's hard for me to be hyped for it each and every single week, and I don't know why. And maybe it's like what Tyler said with me being spoiled by episode length. Maybe it's I can't digest it the way I want to. Maybe it's just like when it comes out and we're like, hey, are we going to watch it? It's all a matter of like, well, how does the day turn out? Like when episode 2 came out Friday, it never really worked out for that entire week. Did we have time? Could we have made time for it? Yes. Did I feel like it was a priority? No. And the only reason why I watched...
Brando, I think I know what it is.
What is it?
Well, okay, so we're going to equate this totally different. We're not talking about Star Wars or anything like that. We're going to talk about thirst, quenching your thirst, okay?
Okay.
If you walk into your kitchen and you go to turn the water on, and you just want a big ass glass of water, and it's just dripping one singular drop of water out, you're going to get really annoyed that you got to wait a long time to get your thirst quenched. But if you turn around immediately and look, and there's a Pepsi in the fridge that's unopened and it's cold, and all you got to do is crack it open and chug it, it's like the Mandalorian is there you go. The Mandalorian is your sink dripping a little tiny dribble of water out at a time. And it's good. A lot of patience to get to where you want it to be. And yes, there's great qualities in water. It's the healthiest, greatest choice you can drink. However, there's a Breaking Bad motherfucker in the fridge, and all I got to do is crack it open and blow through a season like it ain't no thing, or go watch Stranger Things in the same kind of token.
Well, and the other bit was, as I said about season 1, the story, or the overall story, kind of stops for at least 2 episodes. The episode where he helps out the guys.
Yeah, it totally pivots
for that. On that prisoner ship, and then there's another one in there. On Tatooine, and some of that stuff is world building, and we do revisit it, and that's good. That's why I feel like by the time we get to the end, this is going to be an awesome 5-season story that you can sit down and really dive into, and you're getting a lot of nuance and a lot of fan service. But I feel like sometimes in the episode, we're getting fan service and we're getting a little bit of story, and sometimes I feel like for story, it's not moving as fast as I want it to. Move on to the next thing. And instead, we're focused on this thing right here for now. And that's cool. Because none of the episodes that I've watched, even those ones that I've critiqued in the first season, are bad episodes. In fact, as I said, I enjoyed them more on this second viewing, knowing when the story picks up again. So I could kind of mentally tell myself, it takes a break here. Let me just enjoy this for what it is. And when you combine that with a weekly series, and you're not getting that thirst quenched, like you said, Nate, it almost kind of makes me a little frustrated. Like, I want the story to continue. I want to see where it's going. And the show is like, well, we're going to do it. We're just not going to do it when you want to. And I'm like, there's only 8 episodes, and then we got to take a break. And in a way, I'm also not happy knowing there's only 8 episodes, because now I know there's only 5 more to go for this season. And I'm like, we have 5 left, guys. How long are these episodes going to be? What are we going to talk about? What are we going to do? And see, like, they ended the first season the best way that they could do for a Star Wars superfan. Mm-hmm. By giving you a look at something we've never seen in a live action setting. And it got called back to on like in episode 3 directly. Meanwhile, my wife, who's watching this with me, has no fucking idea what this thing is. 0. I had to go in and explain to her what it was. And then she looked at me like, just like with anything, whether it's a joke or something, if you have to over-explain something, now it's suddenly, well, like the impact isn't there. So I feel like this show is
awkward.
I mean, the show is palatable for everybody, especially for us longtime diehard fans, and it's tying into stuff that happened in Clone Wars, which is really exciting for episode 3. For anybody who watched Clone Wars, that kind of came back around here, and it's going to happen again, hopefully next week. But it's just a matter of like, had season 1 not ended with the Darksaber, I would have been like, yeah, this was cool. But with the Darksaber, I'm like, ha!
Yeah. So
like, I don't know. I feel like there's a balance, just like with the Force. There's a balance. And so far, the show doesn't always meet that balance for my taste, personally. It's good, but it's good. It's so good, and it's so well directed, and it's so well shot, and it's so, like, when the story's together, it's there, and it's nice, and it's cool. I don't know. It's this weird thing where I am.
I will say. Go ahead, Brando. Sorry.
It's this weird thing where I'm simultaneously loving it and also like, I don't know. It's like I don't dislike it.
Well, that's the thing too is, you know, this year, the Witcher TV show came out
Mm-hmm.
relatively around the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Like December. It was like right after. It was almost right when Mandalorian. It was like a week before Mandalorian wrapped up because we didn't actually start watching Witcher until it was like right near the end of like Christmas. It was like around New Year's or something like that is when I started watching it. But yes.
It suffers from a lot of the same problems that The Mandalorian does in different ways.
Yeah.
You know, one of the biggest complaints about season 1 of The Witcher was the time jump, timey-wimey, and then no explanation stuff.
Yeah, well, it's hard to follow.
Yep. Anybody who's read the books or played the video games was totally aware of what was happening the entire time. But if you have no, like, if you're not grounded in the precursors to all the video games, then you don't have a fucking idea.
Yeah.
But it was still incredible.
Yeah.
But it struggles just like The Mandalorian has. You know, there's a lot of things. Bryce Dallas Howard directed episode 3 of season 2 of The Mandalorian. Personally, I like it way better than the first episode that she directed in the series. And if you go back, I'm pretty sure, don't quote me quoting myself, but I'm pretty sure that Bryce Dallas Howard's episode in episode 1 was one of my favorites. But I mean, it's The Mandalorian is going to continue to suffer as long as we put it under a microscope.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard. That's hard. And it's not necessarily the right thing to say, because we should be super subjective and critical of what we decide to occupy our time with. You know, I've went on the whole time's a finite resource bullshit for fucking ad nauseum, you know. The important part of The Mandalorian, I think, is that it still hasn't peaked.
Yeah.
It still has room to improve on every episode, every season going forward. They can continue to build and you know, maybe the second half of season 2, the episodes are all longer. You know, I don't know. I haven't seen anything you know, pretty quickly season 1, we had the run times, I think, pretty quickly.
Yeah, we did.
I haven't seen those for season 2. So, you know, who's to say that all the things that we're bitching about, or not necessarily bitching about, but, you know, all the things that we view as flaws, maybe those get rectified here pretty quick.
You know, and maybe so. And, you know, because I do want to reiterate, like, don't mistake my negative tone for overall disenjoyment, or like, because I don't. I do thoroughly enjoy it. I'm just not maybe shouting from the rooftops. You know, I'm sitting here, I'm having fun watching it, and everybody's doing a good job, and the stories, it's clicking where it needs to click. There's just little nuances, and maybe it's because it's Star Wars, maybe it's because it's the episode length. You know, that was my biggest criticism of that, and then like the plot drop off maybe for season 1 was my biggest complaints. Where I felt like for the amount of time that we spent with the show, it's like we started, he left, we had a break in the story kind of, and then we basically had to go back to finish it. Where it's like, okay, this was weird. The breaks, I mean, that stuff's cool. And here we are. I feel like it's a little bit more even this time around because we're not diving right into the super big plot of it in the beginning, and we're hopefully going to be like building to that instead of and I understand like for first season they need to grab you, they need to get you, grab you, suck you in, and then let it lull and then bring it back up. So maybe this one it will be a little bit different. But I will say so far, I agree with Tyler. Episode 3 is as awesome as episode 1 was, with the crate dragon, doing all that stuff, doing more stuff with the Tusken Raiders, the Sand People, that we've never got to see. That like the only things that we've ever done is see them like raise this and do that and get slaughtered by Anakin Skywalker. That has been the most of what we've had for Tusken Raiders, or trying to negotiate with them with HK-47 and HK at every turn being like, "Can we please kill them all now, Master? This is grating on me entirely. This is getting nowhere, sir." So, but to get to actually spend time with them and see them as people, humanize them, I guess, in a way.
Yep.
I think that's important. So, episode 3.
Yeah.
Finding these Mandalorians that are like, "Let me take my helmet off," and he's like, "Ah, don't!"
How dare you? What did you say?
Like, I saw somebody post this somewhere. I don't know who shared it. Could have been one of you guys, but it was like, I need to find other people like me. Every time Mando finds other people like them, I'm gonna fight you.
Oh man.
Anyways, no, it's good shit. I'm really enjoying it. I like the callbacks. It's episode 3. I love how they name drop Ahsoka. We're getting live action Ahsoka in this series. There's been all kinds of rumors of what they're going to do later on, which, I mean, that's just going to, we'll have to wait and see. But now there's also rumors that they're going to do a standalone Boba Fett story that spins off from this. So we get to see his
I thought it was confirmed.
Is it confirmed?
It is confirmed.
I wasn't sure if it was confirmed or if it was from we got this covered or what.
No, the thing that's a little bit interesting about the Boba Fett series is apparently it could be out before season 3 of Mandalorian. And I know Tyler shared that with us like a week or two ago. That is really interesting to note, but it isn't really surprising considering they seem really driven in what they're trying to do at Disney Plus, continue to create new content, and you want that wheel to really churn. And when you can do it successfully like they have been doing it with Mandalorian, it's not really that hard to say, well, let's get the gears turning for our Boba Fett series. Let's know where our story is going to go. Maybe in 2 seasons we'll get a Mandalorian Boba Fett full-blown crossover. Who knows? And the one thing I want to say that's really great is Bryce Dallas Howard delivering like probably the best episode of Mandalorian we've had so far. There were so many amazingly shot scenes within that episode that I was just like, the camera work, the angle she shoots at is brilliant. The cinematography of it all just blew me away. I was huge fan.
I really, really appreciated her perspective changes. Point of view, Mandos, troopers, Mandos, just the way that they cut and transitioned from point of view was great camera work.
When he throws the bombs at the stormtroopers, when he slides, and there's like a shot where she took the troopers and turned them on a diagonal, and I was just like, that's so fucking Star Wars. Like I was just about it, and like, this is the great. And here's the thing: when I was watching the episode, I didn't have any fucking clue who was directing it. So at the end, when it's like and then like it's her name, I was like, holy shit, that was incredible. Like, give me more of that.
Yeah. I think especially with her dad's involvement, and now while we're talking about Star Wars, the Solo 2 stuff with Mr. Howard coming back, a lot of that discussion has been ramping up the last 2 or 3 weeks, at least from what I've been reading. I think that even if we don't get Solo 2, something that I would like to see going forward, I would like to give Bryce Dallas Howard a little bit more of the reins of Star Wars and just let her just see what happens, because she's killing it as far as I'm concerned.
Every time we get a little piece of nugget of,
and what's the worst that could happen?
Anytime that we get a little look at what's going on with the Empire, I absolutely love the juxtaposition and how everything looks clean and looks imperial when we're dealing in a somewhat almost post-imperial galaxy.
It's supposed to be.
And yes, but I love it because it's almost like I want more. I want to see more what's going on internally with the Empire, with this pocket that's out there with Moff Gideon. I want to know more. I want to see more. Also, I marked out just a tad, when he's trying to land on the heliport or on the landing pad, and like he almost does it, and then messes up and goes into the bay, and there's the Mon Calamari like. and then it goes to the Mandalorian. It's almost like the intro was like just like trolling them.
Yeah. Ruby was like, "Oh, Mando, you're supposed to land on the thing, not in the water."
But then they have a walker, a crane.
It made the same sounds.
Yeah, it's like a crane walker that works in the docks, and I thought that was so cool, using the same kind of technology for just real everyday stuff. And I'm like, that is some of the coolest stuff that we've seen so far.
Yeah.
That is just a little thing. It doesn't mean anything to anybody else, but to me, it's like that is something really cool. And also, we're jumping all around with these 2 episodes, guys. Did it make you feel humorous or like almost sadness or just ungodly fear of when the child keeps eating the eggs of an endangered species?
I was uncomfortable.
It's just like
Hey,
what I will say,
Baby Yoda is on to that galaxy's stem cell research, okay?
What I will say, while he's eating the little soft eggs, the mom never takes count. So,
Nope, not one time.
At least she seems to be somewhat cool with it, or at least she's unaware. It's like she doesn't really know how many she's had, and he took just enough of fries. We lost Nate. We have completely lost Nate. What in the heck is going on here? We're going to switch this over here. But no, he never really actually takes stock of anything that's kind of going on with those eggs. But anyway, I loved all of the stuff with the X-Wings as well. Here we're going to put Nate back in. Admit. Are you back, sir? There we are.
I'm back.
We are back.
Hopefully this is better and less glitchy now. That's weird.
Well, it happens. It's the modern podcasting age, folks. This is you listen to some of the biggest podcasts out there, and they're having the same issues. So it is what it is. Also, I'm not sure if you actually saw the title of the live stream, Nate.
No, I didn't see it.
Okay. Because, typically, guys, when we do the show, we don't we come up with the name of the title of the podcast in the show. It almost keeps it fresh, and it guarantees that we're never going to call the same podcast something twice. However,
sure.
For this one, when I asked Nate, when you go live, you almost have to you have to name it something. And he goes, we got this going on. We got Mando. We got these headlines. It's going to be a hodgepodge of blah, blah, blah. So I named the episode Hodgepodge of blah, blah, blah. I even typed out blah, blah, blah. So that may or may not be the ending title or the final title. So I don't know what more to say about Mando. I like the interaction. I can't remember her name now. I just watched it, but the gal from yep, and she's from Clone Wars, and she's like, "Where's the Darksaber? Does he have it?" And the dude's like, "Well, I mean, if you're asking, then you already know." And she's like, "Where are the other guns going?" And he's like, "He will if you."
Why do you want to kill me, Joker?
And he's like, "You may let me live, but he won't." He's like, "Where is he? Where is he?" And he's like, instead of cyanide caps, it is little caps that electrocute him.
That's metal as shit. That's how they do it in the Empire. They do it live.
Oh, man, that is... He rode the lightning for sure.
Yeah. Doing it live in the Empire should be the episode title.
Did you guys, off topic, I just saw this.
But go ahead.
Sorry. Off topic. at Walmart they have Monopoly for millennials. Did you guys see this?
No.
Monopoly for millennials, and I'll put this right on screen. It's like, you know, old money bags he's wearing sunglasses. He's got a cup of coffee, and he's got earbuds in. And there's no meat sign. There's bicycles, and it says "Forget real estate. You can't afford it anyway." That's on the box.
That's good.
He ain't wrong.
No, but all in all, guys, I am happy.
I wanted to bring. Good.
Despite everything I said, I am happy with the Mandalorian, and I'm happy we're getting it, and I'm excited for even more stuff to come down the pipeline. That's all I got to say on it. Put a bow on it.
Okay. Well, let me try to throw this in here. Internet is trying to kill us this week, and I'm all out of sync with you guys, which is really unfortunate because I feel like we still are going to have a really great episode, regardless of all the technical issues. But I have a new segment I wanted to bring your guys' attention, and I only have 2 of them today, but I want to bring this new segment up. It's called New Ones. It's about #1 comics that just drop in the ether, and I've read them, and these are books that, as of right now, both books I am going to be pitching that I think we should maybe start following the series on the show and get you guys reading them as well. The first book I'm going to talk about is called, and I don't get cross when I say this, but it's literally called Crossover.
Okay.
Now, interestingly enough, Crossover is written by Donny Cates, whose name should be familiar if you've been listening to our show at all, because he was Cosmic Ghost Rider's writer. Book, and it is an Image comic that just came out in July. Or issue 1 came out not in July. November was the first issue, so it just came out. Essentially, in this world, this is the synopsis of issue 1. In 2017, the city of Denver was invaded by fictional superheroes and supervillains fighting each other, causing destruction and death, until a superhero created a force field around the city. 5 years later, most of society has rejected those characters. Ellipses Howell is one of the few people who believes in those characters. She works for a comic book store located in Provo, Utah, until one day her boss Otto spots Ava, a fictional character who somehow got evacuated from Denver's dome. This alarms a group of fanatical mobsters who are Protestants led by Shepard Lowe, who forces his son Ryan to drop a Molotov cocktail against the shop. Ava reveals a figure helped them escape, whom Ellipses and Otto recognize as Superman. Now, the one thing I really love about this book is, and you find out as you're reading it, is that every hero and character that has ever existed in comics is in that dome. They are all in that dome, in that world, fighting and battling, and all this crazy stuff is happening. And as we learn, Superman is shepherding people out of the dome. There are children who their parents are superheroes or supervillains in there, and they're fighting and losing their lives. So the really cool thing about the people who escape are they look like pop art. Everybody else looks like the comic, but it's old school pop art. So they've got the real bright dots on their face that make up their color and everything. The book is very interesting. And I'm going to actually, literally for the purpose of, and this is why I wanted to bring it up, the final page is him writing a little letter to his fans. So this is from Donny Cates, and I'm going to read it here live on the show. It's a little bit small, so I got to get close. It says this: 6 years ago, I almost died. I won't get into specifics. I've talked about it here and there on various podcasts and interviews. If you want to hear about it, I'm sure you can find it. Long story short, I was hospitalized, and for the first time in my life, I truly thought I wasn't going to make it out of there alive. And when I finally did, I had a lot to say about the nature of death and family and legacy, and all those feelings were channeled into a book called God. Some of you may have read it. I thank you all for doing so. The book truly changed my life. Until, well, just recently, I kind of almost died again. I found myself hospitalized this past summer, and for a brief moment there, I thought I wouldn't make it out again. Except this time when I got back on my feet, it was different. I didn't want to talk about death anymore, assume oceans of eternal darkness that have perpetuated so much of my work these last few years. The time I awoke wanting to talk about things I loved, things that made my life worth living. I wanted to make something that captured the excitement I felt as an 11-year-old, rabid and huddled in my room, reading dog-eared copies of Young Blood and Wildcats and Spawn and Savage Dragon. In short, I wanted to make something big and bombastic, but also small and intimate and connected to a larger, almost infinite world filled with stars that, man, I'm still pinching myself that we get to play with. I will cross over, and now, all these years later, here it is. And insane, and honestly, I have no earthly idea if this book is going to work. Just so damn happy I'm still here to try. Donnie Cates, Austin, Texas.
That's cool.
So his book, it is really cool. I'll put it in the Dropbox for you guys to check and peep out and get an idea on if you like it or not. Now, another book I want to talk about is a Marvel specific book. It's going to pop Tyler's ears a little bit because Taskmaster #1 just came out recently, and it is the dorkiest, goofiest, greatest comic I've ever read. It does itself seriously while taking itself almost too seriously. It is witty. It is comedic. It has some real backbone. And the whole story is like Taskmaster's trying to get out of the game. He doesn't want to be that guy anymore. He's actually doing like private parties for kids and stuff, like trying to just like make a living and get by. And oh yeah, and he still comes dressed up as Taskmaster, and there's a whole bit about it. And he's like, listen, when you have the greatest skull in supervillain history, oh yeah, better than Red Skull, I'm looking at you. You got to show it off, man. You know, so he's like real comedic and whatever. But the interesting thing is he's constantly being hunted by Black Widow. And that's where the story really picks up. Why is she hunting him?
Cool.
You don't know yet. You don't know the story. It's like a cat and mouse type story. There's a couple other #1s I downloaded with the intent to read for this, and I'm going to probably save them for next episode. Rorschach #1 just came out recently. He's got his own spinoff.
Yes.
Power Rangers #1 just came out. Mighty Morphin #1 just came out. And this one that I know I'm going to pop both you guys, Dark Multiverse Batman, Hush, where Batman is Hush Batman.
Yeah, sign me up.
So those are books I'll be reporting back to soon. I think that both Crossover and Taskmaster are unique in their own styles, totally different from each other, and worth your guys' time to check out. That's all I got for that one.
I know as far as comics, while we're doing our live here, Bill O'Reilly style, you know, I might not know what this means, but I really want to do the major symbiote events when we have time to like really sit down and digest, you know, because between Absolute and Maximum Carnage, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
There's Minimum Carnage, there's Maximum Carnage USA, there's spinoffs for that series.
I was just meaning like the big ones.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, obviously I'm about reading anything symbiote related, and I'm sure Brando feels the same sentiment. I'm going to throw this to you guys. There's a couple things in Marvel's world we were just talking about. I want to throw at you guys. Did you guys hear about Thor: Love and Thunder?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Chris Pratt, Star-Lord making his
bigger
debut.
rumor than just Chris Pratt, though.
Go on.
They have now pegged that it is. They haven't officially confirmed it. I would say within the week we'll get the confirmation, maybe as early as tomorrow. It will also be Vin Diesel reprising his role as Groot.
Oh, awesome.
In Love and Thunder. So
we'll
get a couple of the Guardians, maybe Bradley Cooper as well. They haven't said that yet, but they have said all signs are pointing to Vin Diesel making his return as Groot for Love and Thunder. So that's pretty awesome.
I've got something pretty big that I wanted to talk to you guys specifically about. It's back in the realm of video games. What do you guys think about the $30 million loss that Square Enix is reporting because of Marvel's Avengers?
It really didn't catch on as the multiplayer game that they were hoping it was going to. And I'll be honest with you, that is one of the reasons I actually stayed away. I haven't bought the game. After hearing about the game coming out and hearing about how the game is geared to be a little bit more grindy than what I want to do. I still haven't bought the game because on one hand it's the grindiness. On the other hand, it's a lot of the game was geared towards the multiplayer effect, and I completely understand why, because they're trying to kind of capture the same essence of what they used to have on like the Ultimate Alliance games, and I completely get it. Maybe because a part of the allure of the Avengers is the team aspect, working together, doing things together. They are a team, and I get it, but I don't know. It's hard for me to comment on it directly because I don't own the game, and I know Nate does, so I'll let him here in a second. But it is kind of sad that the game didn't make as much, and I know, Tyler, you and I decided to sit it out or have done so. It's not to the point where I don't want to not play it eventually. My hype for it dwindled as the release date got closer and I started hearing more reviews about it. Not that it was bad, it's just not really up my alley for what the kind of game that I wanted to play, and which was the exact opposite of what happened with Spider-Man when that game was coming out. I did not pre-order it. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I'll get it eventually. And quite literally, as the days kept inching closer, the hype for it for myself ended up getting bigger to the point where I did go get it on day of release.
Yeah, as far as the Avengers game is concerned, honestly, the gearing it towards multiplayer was a mistake because they had so many problems right out the gate that they lost people immediately, and you're not going to get people back. If you send a broken product out, it's going to deject people and they're not going to be interested. So
Look at Anthem.
Mistake number one. Mistake number two is they've had to consistently, exactly, and you have to look at, they've had to consistently fix the game with patches. They've got like 22 patches that have been released or some shit now for the new Marvel Avengers game, and it's like, sure, there were some things that they couldn't have predicted or anticipated that were glitches that only could be found on a large scale once it was to the masses. But there's other stuff and basic, just they had to change the price point for all of their gear because they thought they were going to make some exorbitant amount of money on microtransactions, and people aren't into it because it's shit you can unlock for free if you're patient, So it's just like, the whole model is broken. The idea was great. The game itself is fun. The story they tell is good. But man, get rid of the multiplayer shit. Don't worry about it. Focus on a great single player story. That's what Spider-Man successfully did. Great single player experience. And yeah, make it a team up element, but make it to where you can switch between your Avengers in any one battle at any point. Make it to where, because it's fun as shit to play as different Avengers in the game. That's why the grinding, for me at least to some regard, is acceptable, because you get to go through levels as multiple different characters, so you experience it differently. But that gets boring after a time. You got to move on from that and do something better. So my hope is that if they go for an Avengers 2 or something, all these issues will be straightened out. They'll either decide to completely get rid of multiplayer, or if they're going to bring it, they'll bring it the right way and do it right. But yeah, I haven't been playing Avengers for the past month.
The only thing is that with that big of a loss, there's probably not going to be a lot of encouragement to do another one, because that's
I doubt we'll see another one. Just like, it would be a miracle if we saw an Anthem 2.
Yes.
Especially with all the money that BioWare and EA is spending on making and trying to breathe life back into the game. I'm really glad that you brought up Anthem, because to me, I haven't played either game, but I've watched a lot of gameplay of both of them. And obviously, the gameplay's not the same, but there's a lot of similar elements. And if you were Square Enix, however you want to say it, how could you look at Anthem? How could you not look at Anthem? The always multiplayer big looter shooter that was one of the biggest flops in gaming history, and then take you make Kamala Khan your main character of your story, and then make it multiplayer focused. No one wants to buy that. That's why I didn't buy it. You make Spider-Man a Sony exclusive for a game that no one's going to buy. It's poor business decisions. It doesn't make any sense.
I will say, I think that Kamala being the main character was maybe the best decision they made, because it gives access to people who don't know a lot about her, and it drives you to be more interested in the character, especially on the heels of the fact that they're filming Miss Marvel right now as we're talking. Kamala Khan's series is filming, so it's like, again, they're trying to channel up and strum up interest in a character that they know could hit the market and be successful, and they're just testing it on a smaller scale in their game. So
Well,
I mean, that was one decision they did well, I thought.
they chose poorly, because if you spend a couple hours reading through any media related to the game, there's a lot of people complaining that they picked Kamala Khan because people don't want to play as characters that they don't know about. They want to play as established characters that they do know about. That's part of the reason why Spider-Man sold so well, and not insert random obscure superhero. You know what I mean? I mean, it sounds insensitive and it's kind of shitty, but I want to consume Spider-Man and Captain America and Black Widow. Make Black Widow the main character. More people would have enjoyed that, I think.
So here's the thing. It's almost the same thing that we were talking about with Mandalorian just a little while ago, about how different beats will hit for different people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know a lot about the character, so I'm not that interested or invested. And, you know, to Nate's point, yeah, he does know more than I do. So he is more interested in getting to play as this character. And it would, for example, if it did hit, it would help in creating interest in a new character. But look at how they were able to do it within the movies. Maybe not 100%, but look at what they were able to do. They were able to make Hawkeye and Black Widow interesting characters on their own, to where eventually they are getting their own thing, right? But what did they do? They surrounded them by the characters who are a little bit more, like, I guess, A tier. I mean, at that point, I mean, they made Iron Man A tier. You know, Thor, they had a movie. They built up these characters, Iron Man, Captain, and Thor, and, you know, who are long time bigger and more involved characters. More people know about them than they know about Black Widow or Hawkeye, and they tagged in Hawkeye and Black Widow with them, and we got to be introduced to these characters as a side character, and to the point that they grew into their own entity.
Mm-hmm.
And that could have been done for this. When I first saw the first trailer and the first gameplay thing, I was hyped.
Yeah,
I saw them.
You and I both were.
I saw them. You know, I saw everything from that, and I was hyped. The more that as it got closer, I was less. So I actually kind of join you, Tyler, and agreeing with you that if it's almost kind of like a bait and switch, because yeah, they do set up the story of kind of bringing the team back together, and they do task that with this character who a lot of fans aren't as familiar with. And that it may be more interesting to be like coming out of the gate playing as a character that you really want to play as, other than somebody else. And then they put so much time and effort into the multiplayer stuff. And as Nate said, they have so many patches. And to tie that in and back in what we said about Anthem, when you release an online focused game that doesn't hit, you have a very small window of time, because when people and to some extent it works the same way if they get early access to a single player game that isn't actually up to snuff either, because first impressions are everything nowadays. When people buy a game, they expect to buy at least a somewhat finished product.
Mm-hmm.
And BioWare has not done that in the last two releases that they've had. And that's why I mentioned because I mentioned
Andromeda.
I want to mention Andromeda because a lot of people got that early through EA Play, and it was not ready yet. So people's first 10 hours with Andromeda were very lackluster. Meanwhile, that 10 hours doesn't fully encompass what the game fully is, but also it features a lot of things that they ended up fixing. Well, that's cool and that's awesome. You're never going to get those people back to come
Andromeda.
Yeah, you are not going to get those people back to buy the game. With Anthem, it's online game. That's it. That's how you play this game. It's online. It has an offline mode, but the whole basis is for you to play this game online, just like a Destiny-ish type game, right? Mm-hmm. When you release the game and it has a lot of problems and people don't get into it, the odds of you turning that around to be successful are very small.
And it's very expensive.
it is very expensive, and you're almost more likely, or should, to just drop it and try again with another thing. Maybe you come back with another one and try to fix it. You know, for example, I don't want to. These are definitely two different fruits, and could be even food groups entirely. But the first Titanfall to the second Titanfall, you know, there's no reason to go buy the first Titanfall. No, because it doesn't really have a single player aspect. It's all multiplayer. Titanfall 2 does. It has a single player, and it improved on everything. And unfortunately, it didn't sell very well due to the fact of when it was released, not because of that. It wasn't a good game. But I thoroughly believe that BioWare is doing the Mass Effect thing right now to help fund them in general. And they have to put and they also have to put work into putting the Mass Effect games back out, because they know that if they just go bloop, there you go, here it is, a lot of people would just be, yeah, that's cool, you know, whatever. It's Mass Effect playable on like a newer console. But they know that if they put a little bit extra work, do a little salt and pepper, put some seasoning on that steak, you know, then people will hopefully, all right, BioWare put some work into this. And they're doing it to help fund the Anthem restoration or the new new Dragon Age. They need to repair their reputation. You know, because the thing is, their reputation has been kind of soiled. And it doesn't exclusively start with the last two releases. Going back to Dragon Age 2 or to Mass Effect 3, it kind of started there, you know? And it really goes back to when EA bought them, to be honest with you, if you want to dial it back that far. But with Square, it's a shame, and unfortunately, I think it means it's going to be the end of that series. We're not going to see another one. They put 200-something million into this, and they didn't make their money back. You know, compare it to, like, you know, Warner Brothers put out Justice League, and it cracked $1 billion, but because they put 700 million into it, you know, they want to see that number doubled at least. And so, you know, because Justice League came out when it did, and it like, hey, we're in the $1 billion club, that's cool. Warner Brothers is like, yeah, that didn't make enough money for us, even though it made them money. They think about the expense of putting all that money into the filming and advertising, and then Avengers being development and advertising, because this game had all the tools it needed to succeed, and it ultimately is a flop. Then
it was just really, really poor execution. I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like it's very unfortunate, because then turn it around and here's Insomniac now putting out Spider-Man Miles Morales, not even a full-blown game, and everyone's raving about it. And Miles Morales is a lesser-known character than Peter Parker, but because of more recent things, like the Into the Spider-Verse, you know, like the previous Spider-Man game, you're familiar with him, more familiar with him than you would be with a Kamala Khan. So, right. You know,
that's what I was getting at earlier.
I mean, the fact that they didn't start off the new Spider-Man with you being Miles Morales. It could have potentially worked because he's a little bit more known, in my opinion, as Spider-Man than Kamala Khan is as Miss Marvel. But the fact that they laid the groundwork for it first make you more invested into Miles as a character in this universe. To that now, like, I want to go buy the game now, but I'm waiting because I want to experience it the way that it's supposed to be experienced. I don't want to, you know, it would be like if I'm gonna go buy, if I'm gonna get like a Big Philly sandwich, you know, it's like I want to get an actual Big Philly. I don't just want to go to Subway and get a Big Philly.
Right.
You know.
Like, I don't want to eat my Philly on white
bread.
I tell you what, some people have to, and that's fine and that's cool. I've had it. It fills me up. And it's cool, but if I know that I can get a better Philly sandwich out there, I'm going to try and go to that first. I just related Spider-Man Miles Morales to
Do
Philly
you guys know what's 2
sandwiches.
months from today?
2 months from today?
Great success. Yeah.
What is 2 months?
January 15th. I don't know.
Yeah, the 7-year anniversary of Journey into Comics podcast.
Oh shit! I wasn't around at the beginning,
And
so I don't know that milestone.
say that. It's okay, and it's also the release date of WandaVision.
Oh yeah.
Oh shit!
Damn.
Excited, Wanda super soon. And check this shit out. This is the most amazing thing I just learned today. They filmed that series in front of a live studio audience.
Oh, for like the sitcom feel?
Yes. 100%.
Wow, I didn't know that. Like at all. How have we not known that?
Well, let's see. According to EW, which just had Entertainment Weekly had, WandaVision on the cover, it says that WandaVision was filmed in front of a live studio audience. Much like traditional multi-camera sitcoms, the audience sat in front of the seat and reacted to the scenes in real time, causing the production to feel like a stage play at times. Of course, all the audience members in attendance had to sign very strict NDAs as to not spoil any content of the show.
Yeah, no
I was
kidding.
gonna say, man, how could they possibly keep that many people quiet for, what's it been in production now? Like 13, 14 months?
Over a
like
year.
That? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fucking wild,
Yes.
man. That's awesome. From somebody.
So Elizabeth.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, from somebody who likes, like stage performances. Like, imagine being in that audience watching WandaVision. Like like I never would put those two things together. And I just imagine how fucking cool that was to watch it live.
Oh, for sure. Especially knowing they probably said, okay, there's where Paul Bettany's going to walk out and you're not going to notice the special effects that we get to do until post. Or, however they did that, because I'm not even sure how they pulled that off. But Elizabeth Olsen said it was insanity. There was something very meta for my own life. Visit those tapings, Full House, where my sisters were working as a kid. And then Paul Bettany added, we were all so high by the end of it. We wanted to keep on running the show, maybe take it on tour or something. WandaVision on ice. So, yeah, it seems like even the cast loved it and really wanted to continue doing it. Who knows? This might be a single series thing. We know it sets up Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We know it sets up a lot of Phase 4 stuff. It's also going to call back to a lot of the Phase 1 through 3 stuff. So I guess we're going to have to see where it goes from there, guys. But Brando, I'm going to pass it back over to you because I do believe we're probably at a point now where we should be wrapping unless we've got anything else to talk. And I'm out of sync with you guys, so I think you should be the sinker of this one.
Well, I really don't have much else to talk about. I do want to say that we do have a list of comics that we do want to kind of get back into reviewing when we're all three on here together, and I do believe that it's my turn to pick. That's what was said before. So,
yeah.
Nate, I said this to you privately. I haven't said this to good old TY. But the one I want to do is actually not on the list. I actually decided I wanted to do it, and if it's okay with you guys,
Blasphemer.
Yeah. No, we're not following the list, guys. No. This is gonna be a 4-issue thing. Because I looked it up to make sure how many of the issues there were, to make sure there wasn't like multiple ones we had to go and corral and do a 13-issue review for Brando's. No, I want to do Death in the Family for Batman.
Oh shit, yeah.
And so they're getting ready to release an animated version of that, and I know the story, but I've never actually sat down and read it. So I want to do that and sit down and review that week by week with you guys.
I'm all about it. I will track those down and make them visible to you guys as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah. And like a little bit inside stuff. It's like, because I mentioned that stuff is changing on a constant basis. Well, not constant, but now things have kind of changed for me. Sundays are still good for me. If it is for you guys, I know, TY, you're going to be working a lot going forward. So we're going to try and be as pliable, I guess, as we can. Because as we've said, we want to do the comic reviews, but if possible, we don't want to do them without everybody involved because that's not as fun.
Right. My work schedule going forward is basically every Saturday and Sunday until March.
Until March.
Like,
boy, that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to think though. Really, that's not that far out.
Sure.
The month of November is almost over.
I know.
December's going to be crazy for me anyway because of shutdown. It's not going to be as crazy for you, but
well, and see, it makes you wonder with everything that's kind of going on health-wise in the world and in separate states. We don't know what that's going to befall us because I've heard several rumors that I'm not going to say here live on the air for anybody, but I've heard a lot of stuff kind of going around the like the old well. So we're definitely going to try and get this because here's the thing, guys. We did a live stream today for the live audience. Had a few people kind of checking in and out, and I know we don't do this on a consistent basis because our record time is so much in flux because we want to get all of us together as often as we can when we can. And sometimes that is or is not possible. I'm also working on a solution for a recording space that isn't here, that isn't also around the kids. So that is also in flux for me. I'm going to try and get that nailed down and dialed in as soon as I possibly can. But I got nothing else, guys, if that's all for you.
No, I'm good. When we do finish, I
think
want to
that's gonna
talk
do
about
it.
those rumors.
Okay. All right. Yeah, absolutely. Because you know what? It's perfectly timed because I just got messaged to ask if we are in fact completed because we are nearing the breaking point. I'm sure. But yeah, Nate, if you want to, I will wrap it up here for the show. We want to thank each and every one of you guys for listening to the show, tuning in wherever you do. Of course, we did a live stream, so check us out and like us on that Facebook. Occasionally, we pop up with a live stream, and if we're not live, we do a sneak peek every single Sunday. It might not be always at 6. It might be at 9 or 10 or whenever it gets done. But we always try to put the episode up early there for all of our Facebook fans to get the episode and watch along because we do a video version that's up on YouTube as well. And that it goes live there. But we're on podcast services all around the world. And search us out on your favorite one and search Journey to Comics Network. You'll find You'll find all the other podcasts that are on the network as well. A part of that feed. It goes back a long ways. And if you... Of course, all those feeds, they kind of cut off at some point. So head over to journeytocomics.com where everything is archived by our archivist, the Podfather. He has put everything in a cool little neat. It's all segmented into a lot of different stuff. So a lot of different shows, a lot of cool stuff to tickle your fancy. If that is it, my friends, this has been Journey to Comics, episode 322.
Oh, yeah.
What are we going to call this sucker? Nothing has actually jumped out to me as an absolute name.
I wanted something with the Price is Right because that was a part of the thing and mixed with the other shit we were talking about, but I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, yes, because no episode title was jumping out to me. I don't know. I got nothing. I was hoping
good old fashioned TBD.
To be determined. Okay. Good old fashioned TBD. So until next time, I've been Brando.
I've been TY.
And I've been Nate. And as always, pop your caps. Later, guys.
Oh, shit. I'm not editing it. We're not doing it again. That's perfect.